So I used to use the traditional gym glove here, which just kind of protects the palm of the hand because you don't want to get the calluses on it. But then like your fingers are exposed and you're touching things, especially with COVID, you don't want to touch anything. So that's why I switched to the full finger glove. So the hand's fully covered and you can touch stuff and not get sick. Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, the Yankees now coming down the home stretch here in September. A couple games left in the regular season. We'll see if the Yankees have enough, runway to maybe capture the AL East there. Obviously, a bunch of games back in the wild card there, but do you have a shot at the AL East there? So we'll compare both the Yankees' remaining schedule as well as the Toronto Blue Jays, who they're trying to catch there. I'll give you my thoughts if they realistically have a chance to now catch them. Obviously it's getting a little bit bleak every day, but nevertheless, we'll try to spread some positivity on that. And of course, Aaron Judge seemingly getting hot at the right time, breaking some records there as well as surpassing some Yankee greats in the home run list there. So in case you missed any of that, maybe you tuned into football, you missed it, so I'll kind of get you caught up in all that stuff. And some news with Anthony Volpe. I know that he's been driving Yankee fans nuts the whole season there. I mean, he's good. He hits home runs, but he causes errors there, and he's got a low batting average. Well, got a little bit of news on him on the left shoulder there, which some Yankee fans might be happy with because maybe it takes him out of the lineup there. So I'll give you my thoughts on that whole thing. And of course, even though he's more of a Cub, Anthony Rizzo, who again was a fan favorite here for a couple of seasons, officially calls it a quits, retires. Obviously more of a Cub there, but we'll look back at his career. Even though he kind of won his ring with the Cubs there. But again, he seemed like they adapted very well with the Yankees. Yankee fans like him, so we'll kind of give you his whole numbers there. Not that I think he's going to go to Hall of Fame or anything, but a respectable career worth going over. And of course, last but not least, we have Jazz, as always, just on the cusp of being the next 30-30 player for the Yankees. Of course, boasted that the Yankees are the best team in the league there now. I'll kind of weigh in on that, whether, is that just Jazz being Jazz or does he have a point to make there? So we'll get into all the good stuff there. We're coming down the stretch run here as we're inching closer to the end of the season and to the playoffs there. So you're going to want to make sure you're a podcast subscriber. So you're going to get a lot of takes, a lot of things coming in hot there. The standings could change. Wild card standings could change. Something could happen. Maybe Volpe gets shut down for the season. You never know there. So make sure you're an audio podcast subscriber. So wherever you get your favorite podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, and subscribe. You should already subscribe here on YouTube. It's been going on for a couple of seasons, almost 10 there. Make sure you subscribe there. And if you're watching on TV, you want to get everything, it's a great opportunity for you. Wherever you go to get your favorite podcast, look for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, subscribe. Hit up the YouTube channel as well. Cover all your bases. Now, most of the summer and the late summer I've been crowing about, just look at the second half of the schedule there. I know a lot of people are panicking with the Yankees. Obviously they were doing bad. They were struggling. It was looking bleak there. But I said, look, don't worry about it. September, they have an opportunity to gain a lot of grounds. This because the schedule wasn't going to get much softer for them. But before they had to hit that point, there was going to be a little rough patch. So I would say, end of August, top of September there, which the Yankees say, got through, I don't say, brilliantly, but, very, I would say, as good as you could hope there when you have 4 series against some teams that you've been struggling with, mainly the Toronto Blue Jays, the Houston Astros, Detroit, who the Yankees really haven't locked horns with, other than very early in the season, but that was very early in the season out there in freezing Detroit. I don't know how much you count there, but they're a good team. Obviously, they're a few games better than the Yankees, and they're in the Central there, so that would be a tough opponent. And then last but not least, the Red Sox, who last time they came to Yankee Stadium there, it looked like there's 2 teams going in different directions. Kind of, you ever say, well, the Red Sox do everything well fundamentally, like how well ahead of the Yankees, all that stuff there. Now, that was probably the real low point for the Yankees when they started maybe get back on the uptick swing. So those are 4 tough series in a row there for the Yankees. But then after that, it was going to get it much easier. So if the Yankees at least keep their head above water at those 4 series, which the Yankees did there, then you figure they would be in good shape for the rest of the way. And if you want to look the way they performed in those 4 series, the Yankees went a total of 7-5, which is, again, not impressive. But again, when you're looking at teams like Houston, who the Yankees obviously, traditionally I've had problems with, and in Houston, it's not like, at home there. In Houston, the Yankees had to go there. They took 2 out of 3 games. Took 2 out of 3 at home against Toronto, and Toronto's been slapping the Yankees around all season, so that was satisfying enough. Obviously, Detroit came in. Now, Detroit took 2 or 3 against the Yankees there, and 2 of those games were just absolute blowouts. Now, those were more on the bullpen if you actually watched those games. So it wasn't like the starters got rocked there. The games were relatively close. In fact, even the first game, the Yankees held a 2-0 lead for a while there until Will Warren surrendered the 2-run home run to tie the game, and then after the bullpen just went to pieces. But after that, the Yankees at least salvaged that final game, the 9-11 game. Okay, you save off from getting swept there, and then you go on into Fenway in enemy territory, and they take 2 out of 3 out of the Red Sox. So they said overall, I think if you're a Yankee fan, you would take that just based on how the Yankees been getting smacked around lately by both Boston and Toronto. So you would take that. And for the rest of the way, things are getting much lighter for the Yankees. At least would have an opportunity to push themselves for some sort of run to make the AL East title. Now the problem with this whole thing is that Toronto hasn't been doing too much losing themselves. I mean, they've been winning games as well. So even when the Yankees are having some good series that they're winning the series, it also turns out Toronto's also winning series themselves. So it's hard for the Yankees to catch up there. Now, for the rest of the way, the Yankees, at least at this point there, overall you say will get softer there. Now they got 3 games in Minnesota. Now it's on the road, of course, but Yankees traditionally have been doing well against Minnesota for like the past 25 years or so, like there. After that, then they go to Baltimore. Now, again, this is on the road, but against the Baltimore team, again, not doing well in the AL East standings. Now, of course, would they like to stick at the Yankees, of course, because it's the Yankees there. But nevertheless, those are games you should be able to win there, 4-game series there. Then the final 6 games are at home in Yankee Stadium, which is you want, and against competition, again, that the Yankees should definitely be racking up wins against. The Chicago White Sox yet again, which the Yankees took 3 out of 4 a couple weeks ago in Chicago. So you got those 3 games at home there, and then you close the season with 3 more games against the Baltimore Orioles. So the Yankees are going to have 7 games against the Baltimore Orioles. Again, those 2 series alone could probably determine if the Yankees will have an opportunity to catch the AL East crown there. Now, the only problem is that as we stand right now at the second, the Yankees are 5-game back. So it's probably unlikely as more we going on. Even if the Yankees have the softest schedule, you still need Toronto to drop like 3 or 4 games in a row like that to really maybe get within the striking distance, and then maybe that last weekend in the Bronx there, maybe the Yankees will have a chance. So right now, unfortunately, it's looking a little bit more unlikely. I was really the whole second half of the season, I was really optimistic that the Yankees would have a better run here. It kind of seemed like it just took them a little longer to get started with that, and that's why because they squandered so many games in July and August. And now the Yankees are in this position where they are right now. I say it's not completely impossible, but unfortunately, even I got to say it's probably more unlikely, and they're going to have to settle probably for one of the wild card spots. Now, right now, they have a 1-game lead on the top wild card spot there, but they got Boston right there nipping on the heels there. So that's going to be a little interesting with them. But at least the Yankees will have no excuse, so at least secure that top wild card spot. Because again, overall, if you look at all the teams, the Yankees probably have the more favorable schedule. Again, when you're facing just Minnesota, who the Yankees traditionally have rocked, the White Sox, who've just been, terrible for the past, many years. Baltimore, yeah, they could be annoying. They're kind of up and down, but again, the Yankees should be able to handle them overall, you would think there. So you got those 13 games against 12 games left against those sort of teams there. It does read favorable for the Yankees. Now, if you want to look at the Yankees, who they're trying to chase, the Toronto Blue Jays, same deal. Now, they're going to go against some AL East foes themselves, except this time it's the Tampa Bay Rays. They got 4 games in Tampa, and then later in the month they're going to host Tampa 3 more times. So same thing with Yankees and Baltimore. Toronto's going to be playing Tampa 7 games. So Tampa, if they really want to, they can do the Yankees some favor there by knocking in and trying to stealing some games from the Blue Jays. And also Toronto has to go into Kansas City, which again, it's not the same Kansas City as last year, but we'll see what happens. But what could help the Yankees is that Toronto's playing the Boston Red Sox for 3 games there, where both the teams, Boston's going to be fighting hard because obviously probably the AL East is out of reach for them, but of course they're going to want to at least get themselves a good spot there in the wild card standing. So they're going to be fighting, trying hard. Toronto's going to be fighting, trying hard because they want to stave off the Yankees. So Boston could also do the Yankees a favor if they want to, by maybe if they take 2 out of 3, or it'd be great if they could somehow sweep the Toronto Blue Jays. But I don't know if that's going to happen. But nevertheless, things are there for the Yankees to at least have some sort of glimmer of hope to maybe get the AL East title. Now, do I think it's going to happen? No, just because it would just take even though the Yankees have a softer schedule, you would still need Toronto to take some sort of free fall to blow a 5-game lead with only 12 games left there. So that's asking a lot for Toronto to blow. Probably not going to blow that. So you probably have to be reserved to now to taking one of the 2 top wild card spots if you're the Yankees right now. It's just the way it is. And again, it just seemed it took them too late to finally get it together. And again, it's almost a mirror of what we saw last year, where they stunk in most of June, they stunk in most of July, they stunk for most of August. Maybe around late August they started to turn around and they got on a good run there. This Yankee team this year was almost similar. It seemed like maybe it took them an extra week to really start hit that gas pedal, and a lot of it had to do with Aaron Judge, who we'll get into a little bit later in the episode. Obviously being out a little bit with the sore elbow. You didn't have that last season with the Yankees. I mean, Judge pretty much was in there the whole way there. And even though now Judge is back there and playing the field a little bit, you still have the situation, you still have to sit him down a couple times, have to DH him, which means then you either got to sit Stanton down or put Stanton out in left field like you saw it there at Fenway. And it's just probably not the best version of the Yankees that you could get there. So So that probably, threw a little, I guess, a monkey in the wrench, however you want to say that, there to get the Yankees going there. But again, still a lot of things are coming together right now, and I kind of mentioned it in some previous episodes. You see Stanton hitting hot right now. Judge starting to turn it on, and I'll get back that, as I mentioned a little before, a little bit. Bellinger looking good. Austin Wells, who was kind of like, the entire summer, he looked like he was in a coma there. He started to swing the bat well. He started getting some good swings, guys like Ben Rice, and Trent Grisham, of course. So a lot of guys are coming alive. So it is a good time for the Yankees right now, but of course, you still need Toronto to lose some games there, and I just don't know if they're going to lose enough for the Yankees to be able to overtake them in the AL East. Now, since Aaron Judge has come back from the IL with the strained elbow, he hasn't been the same Judge that we've seen. Again, you can't say he's been terrible, but not really impactful there, and kind of maybe part of the reason that the Yankees are a little behind, a little bit the 8-ball there. But it looks like he's finally heating up. So can you attribute to him maybe just playing DH and not playing the field and not aggravating the elbow and getting a little bit healthier? Well, the signs will show that's probably the case. I mean, even though he's been in the field a little bit, but not every day. Again, Boone's has kind of been giving him some rest days as well, just kind of manicuring him there. Hopefully, maybe within a couple of weeks, you can have him out there in the outfield full time, which is you're kind of going to need if you want to put your best lineup possible there in the playoffs. But as Judge himself, he has seemed like he's turning on and just had the right time for the Yankees. So you want to hope this is maybe the beginning of a long streak of him whacking the ball out of the ballpark, which it seems like he's on that path right now. Now, if you want to look over the last 7 games for Judge, and again the numbers kind of indicate that, hitting .429. Pretty darn good there in the 7 games. So that's 21 at bats. He has 9 hits in those at bats. 9 of those hits happen to be home runs. Now, unfortunately for him, all of those home runs were solo shots, so he only has 5 RBIs. But the fact he got 9 hits and 5 of them are home runs, again, looks like he's getting that home run string. Maybe getting a little bit more healthy in that elbow there, and is also having a good eye at the plate. 7 walks, so you figure 21 at bats. 1/3 of those he took some walks, and as mentioned before, the .429 batting average and slugging, which are Judgian type of numbers, 1.143 there. So looks like he's kind of trending on the upside, which is, again, is what you want as the Yankees come down the stretch in these final couple games. And again, if you're going against less than stellar pitching, which you're not going to really get great pitching with the White Sox or Baltimore, that's where they are. Hopefully Judge can really tee you off. Obviously, he's at 40-something home runs now. Do I expect him to get maybe around 50? It's possible, but if he doesn't, obviously, he's not going to get any more than that. He'll probably end up at 50, which, again, for Aaron Judge, you may say it's a little bit down here, but still an incredible season. I'm sure he'll be in at least the MVP discussions. Probably goes to Cal Raleigh out in Seattle there, but nevertheless, maybe Judge at least is going to be at least in the top 3 of consideration. But again, turning it on and making a little bit of history as well. Now, before the series in Boston there, he was tied with A-Rod, ironically, for the most home runs in the first inning, tied at 18. Now, he did that feat himself back in 2024, a year ago, and some guy you may have heard, Alex Rodriguez, he also did that himself way back in 2001. So that record was tied between both players. Well, Judge broke that record in that Boston series, the first game, hitting a home run in the first inning to give him 19 home runs. So right now, Aaron Judge holds the record for 19 home runs in the first inning. Again, that's a record right now. And again, there's plenty more games left, so maybe Judge could add a couple more to that. I wouldn't be shocked if you do. And if you want in terms of Yankee history, Judge also crawling up that all-time home run Yankee list. Again, when I think we last left off, he surpassed Yogi Berra at 358. Well, also in that Boston series up in Fenway, surpassed the great Joe DiMaggio, passing his 361 home runs. So Judge right now over DiMaggio, so just in front of Judge right now. If he wants to keep climbing up that list, you have Mickey Mantle next. After that, Lou Gehrig, and then after that, Babe Ruth there. So now look, is there a chance that probably he's going to catch Lou Gehrig? I would say most likely. Mantle, I don't know that, but also probably most likely. I do not think, unfortunately, he's going to be catching Babe Ruth there. I mean, you'd have to get like over 600 home runs there. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible for Judge. I mean, he's only 32, 33 years old, and he's got a lot of baseball left in him. I mean, even on a down year, it seems like if he hits 40 home runs, that's a down year for him. And so if he could kind of keep up that pace over the next 4 or 5 years, maybe gets into the conversation there. But I definitely can see him passing Gehrig. Probably a very good chance to pass Mantle there. I'm not sure about passing the Babe Ruth. I mean, it is the Babe so there. But you just see where the Judge's career is projecting right now, and he's getting hot at the right time, and this is what you want to see right now. The only problem is he still has this bugaboo with the elbow there. He's probably still not 100% there, but again, if they just give him enough rest there with these next few weeks coming up there, obviously when comes playoff time, again, hopefully the Yankees there. I mean, it would take a colossal fail if the Yankees don't even make the postseason there. But let's just say they do there. You obviously want Judge in right field full time. time. You want Trent Grisham in center and Cody Bellinger out in left field. That probably gives the Yankees the best outfield possible for them, both defensively and with the offense to contribute. And Stanton, obviously, who's cooled down a little bit. You know, obviously a couple weeks ago he was really red hot there. Cooled down a little bit, which is okay, but you would want him as your DH. But overall, looks like the captain is being the Yankee captain. Now, of course, as we know, one of the enigmas of this Yankee team so far in 2025 has been Anthony Volpe, with a lot of fans throughout the whole season clamoring they should take him out of the lineup, they're babying too much, maybe send him down to the minors. Well, for those who just didn't want him for the rest of the season and maybe not even want him to start any postseason game, they might have their prayers answered. Looks like he does have an issue with the left shoulder, which kind of makes up, you know, I'm saying it's an excuse for him why, you know, he's been having some of these issues, whether it's at the plate with the batting average or some of these errors he's having in the field there. But it does seem like it is an issue for the Yankees, and it's something they're going to have to deal with for the rest of the way there. So, again, if you're someone who doesn't want Volpe in the lineup, want him out of there because you'd be happy about this news. If you're someone that wanted to stick with him, think he's going to get better there, this may not be the best news for you. But nevertheless, looks like Volpe does have an issue in the left shoulder there. Now, this goes back to May 3rd, which actually then, remember, we did comment on it. And at the time, it didn't feel like a big deal. He kind of mentioned that he felt this a pop in the shoulder. Now, it's back on May 3rd. Whatever it was, he played through it. And for Volpe, however you want to criticism with the poor performance in terms of the batting average and some of the fielding errors, you can't really, I guess you can't complain about him not toughing it out. I mean, even back then, didn't go on the IL. Now that they discovered the issue might be worse than we thought it is, still not going on the IL right now. And since 2023, when he entered the league, has been quite durable, almost playing every game there. So whatever the slings and arrows and darts you want to throw at the guy there on the field there, he is quite durable. He does tough it out there. He's not like a Jacoby Ellsbury type who's hurt every 2 seconds. He's not like a Carl Pavano who gets hurt every year like that. So again, if you want to criticize him, one thing you can, but at least you can't criticize of him trying to dodge it, try to jake it, as they say there. At least he goes out there whether he's hurt or not. So it looks like whatever this injury had in the elbow, looks like he further injured it. Now, this was a game back on September 7th. He was in the field there. He had to go across his body to field a ball there. Seems like he really extended his left shoulder there. And that seemingly, again, whatever pop he had, turns out it's a slight ligament damage there. It looks like he further, upon an MRI, further cut the ligament there. So it's a ligament tear at this point. Not something that would really need surgery right now. Now, as for the near term, looks like they set him down for a couple of games, gave him a cortisone shot, and they're kind of taking it on a day-by-day basis. So right now he's kind of available off the bench. Now, in Fenway, he was taking some ground balls there in the field there, so he could be available, but it looks like right now that's opened the door for Jose Caballero, who the Yankees got at the trade deadline. Again, the good thing about him is that he could play almost all, many different positions, one of them being shortstop. So at the time, for a lot of Yankee fans that were just frustrated with Volpe, they want to put Caballero in there. Still, I think the Yankees were kind of juggling both, but now it looks like Caballero, maybe the rest of the way, is going to get most of the starts there at shortstop. So again, if you're someone who wanted Volpe out of the lineup, looks like your prayers are answered. But again, Volpe looks like he's not going to have to go on the IL. He's just going to try to take the cortisone shot and see how he reacts to it the rest of the way there. But obviously, it looks like, again, overall though, this might, not that you root for someone to get hurt like that, but all things being considered, if you want to look the Yankees to shore up their infield defense, which has been a little bit shaky, and of course have some production at the plate there. Looks like Caballero right now is the better option, especially if Volpe, if Volpe 100% there, that's a little different. But if you have Volpe not even having a bad season, but now having the hurt left shoulder, obviously you don't want, obviously it doesn't really do the Yankees good to be trotting him out there. So right now this might be the best thing for all people involved there. And Caballero has a little pop. We saw him hit a home run up there during the week in Fenway. We all know we could steal bases there. Again, up there with 46 stolen bases there. And since the Yankees got him, I guess since the stretch, since August 9th. Now, since August 9th, he's played various positions there, so this is not all at shortstop, but I just want to see that he's contributing with his at-bat. Since August 9th, he's had 16 starts, all in different positions, but hitting .314 and getting 16 hits there in the 16 games there. So looks like his bat's a little bit more alive than Volpe's right now. Obviously, he's more healthy than Volpe, and he could do different things than Volpe. And again, Volpe can steal bases as well, but Caballero is like a real base-stealing guru there. And again, he can play multiple positions. So if you got to switch some guys around, you got to put Caballero out in the outfield for whatever reason, he could do that as well. So right now, it looks like that isn't good news for the Yankees in a way there. Not that I don't want to see Volpe hurt, it's like that. And I just hope maybe Volpe, whatever problems he has, he can get himself healthy. Maybe need some winter balls, straighten him out a little bit. Obviously, you got to do better with the batting average. But obviously, I'm sure that the left shoulder issue is probably what's been bugging him a little bit. You can't make excuses, but if you got like a torn ligament in your shoulder there, that's going to affect you at the plate. It's going to affect you in the field. So probably explains why he's been having some of these struggles there. But obviously, you only have a couple of weeks left of this regular season there. That's not going to get well for him. So I would probably expect as we go more and more, Caballero is going to get probably the bulk of the playing time there at shortstop, and it's probably the best thing for everybody again to have Volpe as a weapon off the bench. He could come off, maybe steal a base, be a pinch runner, something like that. So he could still serve the Yankees as well there. But I think the Yankees are better off right now because you have to win games. You have to at least give yourself a shot to get the AL East title, which I don't think you're going to get there. But if anything, you really want that one game, at least that top spot there in the wild card. You don't want to be something where you're one and done, one loss, and your season's done. We experienced that already with the Yankees. You're going to go back to 2021. They had that one game up there up in Fenway, and Nathan Eovaldi outdueled Garrett Cole, and the Yankees lost 2-0 there, and the entire postseason is over in a blink of an eye. So if you're the Yankees, you don't want that situation. You don't want to be a wild card team, but if anything, you at least want to put that top wild card spot. At least put yourself in the best position. If it's a 3-game series and you have all 3 games in your building, that's at least as good as you can answer in that situation. And as for Volpe, again, I just think let's just be a weapon off the bench. That's fine with the Yankees, and give Cabrera the starts at shortstop. Just right now, if he's healthier, he could do more with the bat. He's probably got a little bit more pop. He's got a little bit of defense right now. So if the Yankees, that's probably the best thing in this sort of whole situation. And a positive sign I mentioned before is Aaron Judge hitting well right now for the Yankees. Actually, want when you're winding down the season. Also, want to be pitching well, and the Yankees get, of course, a big shot now with Luis Hill because we know we came back quite a while ago, finally making his debut for the season, but still wasn't really fully Luis Hill yet in terms of, giving you a full long start. I mean, he was barely going 5 innings there. Well, now it looks like the Yankees are able to stretch him out a little bit, where now he's consistently giving a couple of 6-inning starts there, and that's what you're kind of need there. Obviously, you want to wait, obviously you don't get too ahead of yourself in terms of playoff matchups, who's going to start games like that, but you obviously want Luis Hill in his best form there, because when he first came back there, it looks like he was like on dipping his toe in the water, making the Yankees didn't want to stretch him out too much. You can understand that, and we don't know all this stuff too. It took a little bit of velocity off the ball. You want to have a little better control there. Still giving up a lot of walks there, but if I look at the last 2 starts there, very promising that he's looking like the Luis Hill that I remember from the first half of 2024 when he got off to a great start. In fact, there were even some whispers that, hey, this guy could be a contender for the Cy Young Award. Obviously, hit a little bit of reality in the middle of the later season, but at least recouped himself and at least won himself the American League Rookie of the Year. Now looking like, we're getting more of that version of Luis Hill there, which is good news for the Yankees. But if you want to look at his last 2 starts at this point, so we'll go back a little further against Toronto. That's where he went 6 innings. Only gave up 3 hits and 1 earned run there, so you would say it's a very good, high-quality start. His most recent start against the Red Sox in Fenway, I guess that was the Friday night game in Fenway, the opening, even better there. Goes 6 innings, no hits. Actually had a no-hitter going, but obviously it's still Luis Hill in terms of you're not going to stretch him out, even consider taking him deep into a game to get a no-hitter like that. But at least, very impressive to do that in Fenway. No earned run. Now, he did have issue 4 walks, so you don't like that, but nevertheless, 2 impressive starts where he goes 6 innings there. And if you want to remember back, if this is the way the whole season went, obviously he didn't have a spring training because he was still coming back, from the injury. Obviously, he had a couple of rehab starts there in AA and AAA, but he never had a full normal type of season where, if things were kind of on a normal track, this would kind of be his first half of the season, even though we're in September right now. And as I mentioned before, he wanted to springboard back to the beginning of last season. He got off to a really good start in, the first half of the season. Well, this is kind of like his first half of the season right now. So, if you want to be positive about the thing, you might be looking forward to a good stretch of starts right now by Luis Hill, which again, if you're going to be going up against lesser competition in the last couple of weeks, whether it's Minnesota, Baltimore, Chicago White Sox, Luis Hill has an opportunity to get maybe 2 more really good quality starts there. You take that confidence and the stuff is really going good and looking good there, and you bring that into the bullpen. Obviously, anytime you get into some sort of starting rotation, Fried and Rodon are going to get the ball at least the first 2 games. I mean, you don't know how things are going to line up right now, but of course you do have the up and down. Do you go with Cam Schlittler, who's been overall impressive with the Yankees, had a good bounce back in in that 9-11 game after getting smacked around by Toronto before that, and Luis Hill. But of the 2 of them, obviously if Luis Hill's throwing the ball well, what he could do. Obviously that would give you be a choice you got to make there. But at least then you put Luis Hill, you slot him as number 3 option as you kind of doing some matchups. But of course you got to get to the postseason first. And to no surprise, former Yankee as well as former Chicago Cub, Anthony Rizzo officially retiring as a Cub there, making the announcement very recently at age 36, and to no surprise, it looks like, no one really kicked the tires on him to get the start of this offseason. Obviously, Yankees were done with him. This, unfortunately, this hasn't been the same play in the last couple of years. Drastically lost the power, and if you remember during last season, during the playoffs, he shortened up the swing, became more of a singles hitter, so he was able to contribute a little bit there. But obviously, remember, Anthony Rizzo was his best, the guy could hit 30 home runs this season, and he didn't look even a whiff of that anymore left in him. And really, it's kind of a shame thing. It really happened a couple of seasons ago. He had the collision at first base with Fernando Tatis Jr., and that's when he had the concussion, even though it took the Yankees a couple of months to actually diagnose that. And it really was never the same player after that. And again, it's just hard to see if that collision really caused anything. Probably probably did because, again, he was really never the same player after that. But, again, he had a good run as a Yankee. He became a fan favorite instantly. And, of course, I'm sure you saw the image of him a couple of weeks ago, in the crowd at Yankee Stadium on the Jumbotron, chugging a beer there. So, again, everyone loves Anthony Rizzo. But, of course, you understand, he came up through the Cubs system. He was there a long time. That's where he established himself. That's where he got the World Series ring in 2016. So, you understand, obviously, you want to do that at the Cubs. And, obviously, as a Yankee fan, I don't think it's something you would grumble about. Now, if you want to look at his career there, pretty respectable. Again, just wanted to give him a quick, kudos there for that whole thing. Played 14 years in the big leagues. Career batting average of 261, which, that's about, these days, you're not going to get too many 300 hitters anymore, even though, he's been around for a while a little bit. 303 career home runs, not too shabby there. 1,644 hits. A 4-time Gold Glover, again, always a good slick fielder there at first base, and a 3-time All-Star. So, again, he was a solid Yankee as well, and he kind of came over. Remember, Yankees were retooling. They both him and Joey Gallo in. Obviously, we know the whole Gallo thing turned out to be a bust, but at least Rizzo was a keeper there. It's just unfortunate it didn't work out for him. And then, of course, last season at least got the Yankees. They got to experience the World Series with the Yankees, but unfortunately they fell short to the Dodgers. But of course, he's a Cub. He retires as a Cub, and that's where they'd be. But of course, I'm sure Yankee fans will have a place for them in their heart here in the Bronx. So, congratulations to Anthony Rizzo. And of course, you see him doing some TV and stuff. So I'm sure he has a whole career ahead of him. And again, he's only 36, so he's got plenty more time to do some stuff in baseball. And Jazz Chisholm Jr. always a magnet for the Yankees in terms of good news, bad news, making noise. We saw the stuff, putting things on X like that. Well, the latest one, the hubbub, was against the, I guess it was on TV it was the second win against the Red Sox, where he was probably feeling high, hit a home run in the game, and he deemed the Yankees the best team in the league. Now, obviously, I wouldn't put that, if you're in second place in the AL East there, and you're also just holding onto a spot in the wild card, it means you're a very good team. Would I put the Yankees the best team in the league? Probably not, but at least high up there. But I understand. I don't want to go too crazy over that. Yeah, it's not traditionally the Yankee way, but of course, with Jazz, a little different player than normal there. Kind of not your typical Yankee there. I don't see it as being too cocky. He just wants to be a confident self. He wants to be a confident team. He just had a good win against the Red Sox team where you kind of been struggling a little bit there. So I don't think it's as big a deal. And I don't think anyone's going to use it for bullboard material there. You just know Jazz runs his mouth a little bit too much. But if you want to look at his accomplishments on the field, obviously right now he's one home run away from being a 30-30 player. Yankees don't get too many of those. And if you want to look back since the Yankees got him to the point last season up to here, if you want to look in total there, that's 162 games, so almost a full baseball season. He has over 40 home runs there. So for Cashman, if you want to kill the guy with some moves there, looks like Jazz was a good move there. He's always kind of a bit of an erratic player, but if you want to look at the raw talent there, the home run, the stolen bases, all he brings to the game there, the guy has joined an exclusive club, which includes, again, this is guys who have hit 40-plus home runs in their first 162 games as a New York Yankee. Joins a club of Aaron Judge, Roger Maris, Babe Ruth, which is kind of a decent player there, Jason Giambi, so it's an elite class, and of course, a kind of a weird one, Gary Sanchez, who got off to a great start in his Yankee career. That was 2016 and 2017. Unfortunately, had the shoulder injury in 2018, and his whole career nosedive. But Jazz there, an exclusive club with only 5 other Yankees there to hit 40-plus home runs in their first 162 games as a New York Yankees there. So, Jazz, we don't know who's going to be here for the long term, but in terms of Brian Cashman getting this guy last season, what he gave up there, a really good move is paying off there. He just hope maybe he could bring that talk and back it up once we get into the postseason. And with their win this season on September 12th, the Yankees secured their 33rd consecutive year of having at least a winning record. So if everything goes to hell, at least you'll at least have a winning record. And the Yankees, again, haven't had a losing record since 1992 and almost had a danger of it in 2023. That's when Judge ran through the wall against Dodger Stadium there. And the Yankees, obviously stubbed his toe and came in danger of losing that. But at least came a couple games of over 500, so he secured that. So all the complaining want to do with the Yankee organization after they've had, we don't win enough World Series, they've been winning since 2009. At least they put a winning team there out every season there, and the bulk of those seasons, of those 33 seasons, has been under GM Brian Cashman. So that's the episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the audio podcast version of Section 420 Talkin Yankees. We've had a lot of movement going in the last couple of weeks here, whether it's in the wild card, in the AL East standing. You don't want to miss a beat, so subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.